Hi everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. I think we're just going to wait a couple more minutes for some more people to show up, but thanks for watching. So I'll probably get started at like 7:01, 7:02. Okay, I guess we can just get started. So, hi everyone, it's Ellen. I hope you're all having a good week so far. Today we'll be talking about free play. So, we'll be going over what it is, why it's important, how you can encourage it for your own children. And I hope that you'll come away from this conversation feeling inspired to incorporate free play into your child's life. And I hope you'll also feel like you have the knowledge and the tools to be able to do it yourself. Hi, Nat. Nice to see you here. Um, but before we get started, I just want to let all of you know that this is actually my last live with Connections. So I want to thank all of you for coming week after week, or even if you've just watched one of my lives or a couple of my lives. I really hope that you learned something from them, and that you feel like you've gained skills and knowledge that you can use to support your child's health and their development and well-being. So I'm just really grateful for the interaction and the lovely discussions that we've had over the past couple months. So just wanted to thank you all. So let's get started then, talking about free play. Oh, that's so nice, Nat. That means a lot. So I'll just start with a question for all of you. What is free play? Have you ever heard about it before? And if you have, what does it mean to you? You can throw in your ideas in the comments below. Just any ideas that you have about what free play is or what it means to you. And then we can get into a discussion about what it entails and what it can look like. Absolutely. Not like you literally took the words right out of my mouth. Allowing the child to lead in the play, unstructured. Absolutely. So you can keep on putting your ideas in the chat, but not you're exactly right. Like free play is basically just unstructured play. Yes, choosing what toys they love best. So let's back up a bit, okay? So if we think about play, we can divide it into like two different categories. So we have structured play and unstructured play. So structured play, as the name suggests, involves structured activities. So these are activities that are generally set out by adults or caregivers. So for example, structured play can look like, I don't know, like a teacher organizing a game of freeze tag at recess. So this is a game that's organized and it's kept organized and orderly, with rules and a defined way to go about playing the game. Playing on a sports team where children are coached to play a certain way is also a form of structured play. So you can see right away, right, that like structured play isn't a bad thing. So, like in fact, I've spoken about forms of structured play in my other talks, right? Like I've talked about how beneficial music lessons can be, how important it is to engage in physical activity, like organized sports, in order to get a good night's sleep. So that's my first point, that like structured play doesn't it isn't bad, it isn't a negative thing. I just want to emphasize today that we should also focus on prioritizing free or unstructured play in our child's lives as well. Okay, so that's structured play. So now we can turn to unstructured play and why it's important and why it's actually harder to come by nowadays. So, unstructured or free play is play that's initiated by and driven by the child. As Nat said in the comments, it's very much child led. So, it's any activity that requires the child to actively engage their creativity and their imagination, to make their own choices without being constrained by a certain curriculum or goal determined by an adult. So, unstructured play can look like playing make believe or pretend, or playing on the playground, or drawing or painting whatever they want to draw or paint. So, it's still play. And, if necessary, like it's still supervised by an adult for safety. Um, and maybe the building blocks, like craft materials or coloring materials, those can be set out by the adult, but it's really the child who has the agency in the situation to play in whatever way they like. So, for example, if they're role playing, they can choose the scenario that they want to act out. Or if they're drawing, they can choose to draw whatever they please. And I want to talk about free play today because over time, we've been seeing a decline in the opportunities that kids have to engage in free play. And at the same time, like a concurrent rise in structured activities. So there's a ton of reasons for this. For example, there's limited access to outdoor play spaces, especially if you live like in an urban center. There's also, of course, been a huge rise in screen time over the past few decades. And, while spending time watching TV or YouTube might be unstructured time, it definitely isn't an activity that requires your child to like exercise their creativity and their imagination, right? So, when we talk about the benefits of free play and why it's so valuable for development, which we'll do shortly, I hope that you all keep in mind as well that it's getting harder to come by. So, it's really important to try and make a dedicated effort to build it into your child's life. Um, and I know like time and resources can be really hard to come by. So, at the end, I'm going to give all of you hopefully some ideas and some inspiration to help you go about incorporating free play into your child's life in a way that's accessible and doable. Okay? So, first, let's talk about why free play is important. So, play really is, a medium through which children can explore the world around them and express themselves. And it's also an important tool for their emotional, cognitive, social, and physical development. So, let's talk about the benefits of play and specifically free play for each aspect of development. So, in terms of emotional development, when children engage and play freely, they can play with their own rules and they can experience firsthand the consequences of their own choices. So, they can take their own risks, and if they run into problems or make a mistake, they can learn how to problem solve and manage tough feelings like disappointment. And experiencing all of these things firsthand can really build a child's sense of resilience and confidence in their ability to handle tough emotions and solve problems. And it also encourages independence. As well, through activities like pretend or make believe or role playing, children can express their emotions and their hopes and their dreams. And that sort of outlet for self expression is so important for emotional development and developing their own sense of self. Okay? So in terms of cognitive development, free play is such a wonderful way for children to exercise their creativity and their critical thinking. So we know that free play can build on executive functioning skills. So what I mean by that are skills like planning, organization, adaptable thinking, and self-control. And you can imagine how a child would have to exercise all of these skills if they were playing make believe or a game that they just made up at the playground. Uh, as well, if you give your child blocks to play with, they can count with them, they can sort them into categories, they can make patterns with them. So that helps kind of develop like their mathematical skills. If your child builds a fort out of sheets and blankets and cushions, and it takes them a while and a couple tries of their fort falling before they figure out how to arrange the cushions in such a way that it's stable, they're learning very basic but fundamental concepts about physics and structures. So as well, when a child like role plays with their friends, they're learning how to construct stories that follow a logical order, and they're also exercising their language skills. So you can see the ways in which free play encourages cognitive development and intellectual development really are boundless. Okay? And in terms of social development, when children play with others freely, they have to notice social cues, right? So they need to learn how to listen to each other and share and take turns without this being facilitated by an adult, right? And if a conflict arises, they need to learn how to negotiate and compromise and work together, again, without interference from an adult. So you can see that learning how to do this through free play really is the basis for developing empathy towards others and learning pro-social behaviors. As well, role play and imitating situations like family life or, like pretending to be a waiter at a restaurant, acting out like all of those imagined scenarios are really important for learning how people interact with each other in real life and how society works. And those in turn can also help really develop like pro-social behaviors and a sense of empathy and care towards others. And lastly, in terms of physical development, free play is so important for developing gross and fine motor skills and living an active lifestyle. So simple activities like drawing or making sand castles at the playground can develop a child's fine motor skills, whereas swinging on the swings or playing on the play structure can develop their gross motor skills and their sense of balance and coordination. So we've covered the benefits of free play and how it can be so valuable for development. So now I'll show you some examples for inspiration. Again, I just want to emphasize, and like the main takeaway really is that A, free play is important, and B, you can absolutely get creative in trying to figure out ways to incorporate free play into your child's life. And a lot of these are hopefully quite accessible. So I've already mentioned a few ideas. So playing make-believe or pretend is a really good way to exercise a child's creativity, develop their language skills, etc. Drawing, whether it be with like pencil crayons on paper, oh thanks Nat, or even like in the summer or the spring, like when it's nice out, grabbing like a box of chalk and then going on the road and drawing on the sidewalk is also a really wonderful way to exercise, creativity and self-expression. Playing on the play structure or in the sandbox, building a blanket fort, as we talked about. But I thought I'd also share some more ideas and share what I loved doing when I was younger. So, my parents were huge fans of encouraging free play, and I happened to be staying with them in my childhood home for a few days, conveniently. So, in preparation for today's live, I talked to them about what I loved doing when I was younger, and I unlocked like a lot of core childhood memories. So earlier today, I went down to the basement and dug up some of my favorite like toys and like activities that I used to love when I was younger. And while I'm sharing what I love playing with as a child to hopefully inspire you, I also want to know what sort of free play that you loved engaging in as a child, or maybe if you're a parent, something that you do with your kids now that they love to do. So while that's coming in the chat, again, just share any sort of free play activities that you love doing with your kids. And it really doesn't have to be anything fancy. You'll see in a minute that some of the things I loved doing as a child were pretty mundane looking back on it. But yes, so when I was a kid, I loved playing with Play-Doh. You can purchase Play-Doh or you can like make it yourself with some flour, salt, oil, water, cream of tartar, and most importantly, food coloring. And you can find recipes like all over the internet for Play-Doh. But Play-Doh or just clay like are great ways for your child to exercise their creativity, develop their fine motor skills, because they can just mold the Play-Doh into whatever they want. I personally use Play-Doh to make pretend cookies and cakes and like pretend little pastas, and then I would like sell them or like serve them to my parents or my sister in like my little pretend restaurant. And it was a blast. I have some suggestions coming in the chat. Nat says, my kitties love playing with bubbles, walking barefoot in the garden, splashing in puddles. Absolutely. Yeah, playing in the water is like the best as a kid. And I will be talking about that in a little bit. But yes, keep the suggestions coming in the comments. I also love playing with blocks as a kid as well. I have, here, hang on, I actually have them here with me. I have like these super vintage like block sets. I don't know if I can show you these without like dumping them all over my computer. But basically it's just like this little crate with like differently shaped blocks in them, and they're all like different colors. And I would spend so much time as a child playing with these. I'd rearrange them. I'd like sort them by color and by shape. I build like little structures out of them. And you know, like as an adult, oh my gosh, Nat, yes, these blocks. Yeah, no. And like as an adult, you like look at these blocks and you're like, how could that possibly be entertaining? But young kids especially are so naturally curious and imaginative and creative that even the most mundane things can be just the most fun. I also have this block set. Again, things with like fun colors, like different shapes, and then they like sit in the little wood. Oh, this is a really bad angle, but yes, literally hours of fun that you can have with these little block sets. Oh, okay, it's an unfortunate angle. Yeah, Lego is also a great way to build different structures and such. It's just that the pieces are pretty small, so it can be a choking hazard for some of the younger ones. And also Lego can actually be quite expensive, and I really do want to emphasize that free play should be accessible to everyone. So if you don't want to or have the capacity to buy Legos or blocks, you can totally use objects that you already have at home. Kitchen supplies can honestly be a lot of fun for kids. When I was really young, I was so fascinated by water. and like pouring water from container to container. So my mom would give me measuring cups to play with. I have measuring cups with me right now. These are glass. I feel like maybe for young kids, you wouldn't give them glass measuring cups to play around with, but you get the idea. And I would just pour water between the measuring cups. And like, I was just so fascinated by it. Again, hours of fun. Um, and again, that's something that might seem rather mundane as an adult, but um, I loved it as a child, and I think it helped me develop like my fine motor skills, my hand-eye coordination. So really, you can find opportunities for free play anywhere. Um, and you kind of just have to get a little bit creative and think like a child and think what could possibly be remotely fun. And chances are your child's gonna enjoy it. As well as the weather warms up, yes, pots and pans, spoons. I loved hitting pans and pots with spoons as a child. Yeah, really, you can find any opportunity to get involved with free play with anything that you have lying around the house. But yes, so as the weather warms up, well, hopefully as it warms up, I think it's supposed to snow tomorrow, but as it finally starts to warm up and the sun starts to set a bit later, you can absolutely spend more time outside engaging in free play. You don't need a pool or anything like huge like that to enjoy playing with water in the summertime. Like I didn't have one growing up, but a fun activity would be to bring like a big plastic container outside, fill it with water, and then like try to make little paper boats that would float. And again, this activity will just help your child get comfortable with trial and error, making mistakes, dealing with the disappointment that comes with, a sinking paper boat. And this also, helps to develop their fine motor skills. Absolutely. Children, yeah, for sure, are such great teachers, and they're so imaginative. Absolutely. We can learn a lot from them. Um, so yeah, those were just a couple ideas that I had, and you don't have to take, any of the suggestions that I gave today, but I just really hope that you kind of get the idea that like free play doesn't have to be fancy, and sometimes the most simple and the most seemingly boring things will bring out like the greatest creativity and imagination in your kids. For example, playing make believe or pretend requires literally no materials. To build a blanket fort, you can use the cushions and the sheets that you already have at home. If you have a park nearby, you have boundless opportunities for play there. And the only things that you have to do as a parent are just to make sure that your child has a safe space to play in, and let them guide their own playtime and just provide the materials. So all you really have to do is ask your child what they'd like to do, go from there, and let your child really lead the way, as Nat said at the beginning. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this live. I hope you learned something new and gained some inspiration for going about, incorporating free play into your child's life. Again, thank you so much for being here with me tonight, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of your night. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll come back to them in the next few days and answer them. All right. Oh, thanks, Nat. Thanks for being here. That means a lot. Thank you so much, guys. Good night.